here with us, I highly recommend going and checking out the website. We do, all things Microsoft, and can help with any of these kind of solutions over here on the right. So just kind of like a quick agenda for what we're going to do today. So quick introduction, my name's Rachel Palia. I'm a senior consultant at Covenant, and I primarily work in the Power Platform space. So the plan for today is we're just going to kind of do a quick overview, and the intent being, using everything out of the box. So what I'm going to show you, I put together very quickly. We're not going to do any like advanced customizations, but kind of just to give you an overview of what the out of the box capabilities are. Then we're going to take a look at Design Studio, Portal Management, and the Admin Center. Okay, so what is Power Pages? So this is Microsoft's definition. It is a secure enterprise-grade low-code software as a service platform for creating, hosting, administering modern external-facing business websites. So that basically means if you want to have an external-facing website, Power Pages is a way to do that and to surface all of your data. So for example, if you're currently using Dataverse or Dynamics, you're able to surface that information or allow, creating records and inputting data on the portal for external users. So users can either be authenticated or anonymous. There's a lot of options. Just kind of a quick note, Power Pages is the same thing as Power Apps Portals. Microsoft is going through a rebranding, so they're kind of synonymous. You'll see both, but they're all going to eventually transition over to Power Pages. So the nice thing about Power Pages is it integrates with everything else in the Power Platform, and it just deploys really nicely with all of your other Microsoft solutions. So Power Apps, Power Automate if you want to add some workflow or background automation, Power BI if you want to have some data transparency. You're also able to put a Power Virtual Agent, which is essentially a chatbot, on the website for external customers. So business use cases. I've seen clients use it multiple ways. Some of them use them internally. So if they don't like the limitations of SharePoint, they can, customize it however they want, look, feel, graphics, all of that stuff. They can do that. You can also have different permission levels. So if you have an organizational hierarchy, you can have locked down data for end users versus managers versus management. The other way I've seen clients use it is external. So they have information that they want to collect, and they want to work around for the traditional SharePoint pain point of, adding external users into your directory. All of that you can get around because it allows for local sign-in, Azure Active Directory, and a number of other identity providers. Okay, so how to get started. If you are already using Power Apps or the Power Platform, you should be pretty familiar with this screen. But what you do is you go in and you start by creating a blank app, and then it's going to give you the 3 options. So the last one being creating the Power Page website. Just a note on that, when you do it, it does take a while to spin up. I've seen it take like 1 or 2 hours, so just take that into account. The other thing is when you spin up a new Power Page, you're going to actually see 2 apps. There's an entire solution that it downloads in the backend, but initially you're going to see one, which is the site, whatever you name it, and it's going to be the type of a portal. And then you're also going to have the Portal Management app, which is a model-driven app. So Design Studio. So what I'm going to do now is kind of just hop in and start doing a demo. So I'm going to show you the page that I've already created. This page took me maybe about 30 minutes, and it was mostly trying to pick colors and, fun graphics and stuff. But I just kind of wanted to give an example of some of the things you can do. So down here, we have a video. Up here, you have your navigation. This is a website for my made-up manufacturing company. We manufacture widgets. And here I have this button here, which links to office inspections. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we enter one of those, and then we're going to go and create a different type of inspection so you can kind of see soup to nuts how all of that stuff works. You can see it's loading. All right, so I'm gonna type my name in, ABC Company. So here's some examples of my questions. So floor clear of tripping hazards, yes. Is all fire control equipment regularly tested? Yes. Obviously, you can customize this and put, any type of questions and field types that you want. I just wanted to kind of give a quick example. So if I hit submit, successful. Yay. So I'm going to hop back over to my homepage, and then we're going to walk through that process so you can kind of see how all of that works. So I'm going to start in Power Apps. So this is make.powerapps.com. So you see here, I already kind of mentioned these are the two that kind of spin up when you do a new site. And we're going to start by editing our portal. Since they are moving to Power Pages, you can open it in Power Apps. If you do this, this is going to be the classic portal designer, but we're going to go with the new one. So that's going to load. Okay. So here you can see this is my design studio. So here I can add new pages. Over here on styling, this is where you can customize colors. You can add additional or make new ones, or you can modify some of the existing ones. So for example, if I want this gray to be like a darker gray, I can do that. Over here we have data. So you saw office inspections. Let me click on that real quick. This was the table I created. These are some of my tests, but you can see the one that I just entered is this last one here. And then setup. So this is kind of your quick admin. There's there's a admin tab, and then there's also the portal management, and we'll dive into those a little bit later, but this is kind of your quick general setup. So here you can see I have my page. Here I can actually launch the admin center from here. Identity providers, by default, it's going to have two. It's going to have local sign-in and Azure Active Directory enabled, but you also have the ability to configure any of these. So if you have different channels and streams of information, you can kind of set up Facebook or LinkedIn, for example. And then they do provide this nice little go live checklist to kind of make sure you account for everything. So you can run a site checker, licensing, all of this stuff. It will walk you through step by step to make sure that you've accounted for everything. So what we're going to do now is start by going back over here. Here you can see I have my office inspections, which is a button, but we're going to start by creating a new page. I'm going to uncheck add page to main navigation because this is essentially this navigation right here, and I like to keep that really clean. And plus I'm going to link to this page on my home page, so I'm just going to uncheck that one and then add it. So now you can see I have this add a component section here. You can add all of these really quickly. So text, button, image, video. This was an example. I had one on the home page, form, multi-step form list. You can embed a Power BI dashboard. You can also do a spacer, which is mostly just for formatting, and an iframe, which is actually extremely powerful. So now I'm going to toggle back over here now that I have my page, and I'm going to create the table that's going to hold this information. Go up here. I'm going to call this vehicle inspection. So my fictitious use case for this is I am a manufacturing company and we work with a lot of contractors and we have people coming in and out, and I want to collect some safety inspections for compliance reasons or just general internal auditing. Enable attachments. I always like to check this if I think I'm going to use it, because once you create this table, you can't go back and enable it to create attachments. So kind of just a good habit. Once I hit save, then I should have my new table and we'll add some fields. So these are actually Dataverse tables as well. So this information is accessible in the Power Apps under here as well. So if you work with Dynamics, you should be really familiar with that space. Okay. Now that I have my table spun up, you can see if you're familiar with SharePoint, they have that default name field that's required. You can change this if you want to call it title or something else, but by default, that one will always be in there. There's also the out of the box one, so created by, modified by, all of these background fields. So we're going to start by adding a new column. Let me pull up so I'm going to put in here company, because I want to capture what company my contractor is with. I'm going to leave that as a single line of text and then save that one. Since it's a vehicle inspection, I want to collect their odometer reading. So I'm going to add a column for that. And I'm going to make that actually a number. And then let's add a field. So headlights are in working order. I'm going to change the data type of this one to choice, and then yes, no, which it translates in the back end as a Boolean true, false. But on my form, it'll give me a nice little radio button. And we'll add one more. Let's say first aid. So again, obviously you can kind of customize this for whatever you need. I just want to put a couple different field types in there to show you the capabilities. Okay, so now that I have all my fields in there, I'm gonna hop back over to my page that I just created. So my vehicle inspections page. This is gonna be a form. So the difference between a form and a multi-step form, previously in Portals, this was called an advanced form. So this is a basic form, an advanced form. It'll step you through. So if you want to have kind of step 1, step 2, step 3, and you can have conditional logic. So for example, if I enter no for this answer, it could direct me to, the next step or a different step based on the logic. But for this one, we're just going to do a basic form. I'm going to go new form. And I'm going to search for my table that I just made. By default, they automatically create an information. And then I'm just going to rename this one so that in the back end, I know exactly what it is. Basic form. And then tap through some of our options. You can kind of just see, so what do I want this data to do? I want it to create a new record, not update an existing one or read only. On submit, so you can kind of customize this little thank you message. So we'll do thank you for your vehicle inspection. CAPTCHA. So you can have CAPTCHA enabled, and if you're going to do anonymous users, I highly recommend it. Otherwise, you could probably get a lot of bot traffic, and you don't really want that. But for our demo purposes, we'll uncheck those. And then attachments. Do I want attachments enabled for this one? You can. So for example, a use case would be if they are doing a vehicle inspection, let's say they have like a really low tread on their tire, they can snap a picture and upload it. The out-of-the-box data or file storage for Portals is going to be either SharePoint or Azure Blob Storage. You have other additional advanced configurations you can do, but those are the out-of-the-box ones. So if I hit OK, I'm going to load up my form. So here you can see I only have the name field because that's the only one I set to required. But if I go up here and I go to Edit Fields, here I can kind of customize, move things around, and have it in the order that I want. So I'm going to go add field, and here you can see all of my fields. This is actually a really nice feature. So if I already have the field in here, won't show it in this list, so you don't have duplicates on there. So I'm going to put my company. I'm going to put my odometer reading. And I think I got them all. All right, now if I save, and I publish, and then we go back, and I should see that my form is updated now to reflect this. I'm going to do a sync. So this, what the sync button does is essentially will clear the cache, so that if you've made changes, let's say in portal management or elsewhere, if you hit that sync button, it'll sync everything up and update. All right, so now you can see my form. Let's preview it. Close that out. And then if I hit preview, so here you have the option to view it on the desktop or on the mobile. This site is private right now, but if I made it a public site, you wouldn't have to log in to see this. All right, so now I can see my form. I'm going to enter. There is one thing I want to change though, so I'm going to go back real quick. And this is actually one of the really nice features that they've enabled from portals to Power Pages, is if I have a field that's optional in the table, I can update that on the form. So for this one, I want to make sure that this company field is required on the form. All right, so now I have my little red asterisk and they can't submit it without doing that. So I'm gonna preview this. Okay. Let's fill out an example. An ABC company. Odometer reader, let's say. First aid and kit and vehicle, headlights are working order. Yes, yes, check, check. Before I submit, I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna look at the data just to show that there's nothing in here. I go back over here and now I submit. Oh, let's remove that comma. All right, so you can see, thank you for your vehicle inspection. So that was what I set it to say when I submit something. And then I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to refresh and I should see my form. Okay, so there's me, my company, my odometer reading, and my headlights. Right. So the last thing I want to do is, now that I have this page, I want to make sure it's accessible because I didn't want it in my navigation. So I have this office inspections. This is just a spacer for formatting purposes, and I'm going to add another button. Let's name it vehicle inspections. And then I'm going to link it to a page. You can link to URL. So let's say, for example, you have other sites that you want to kind of have embedded on there, you can do that. So I'm going to select vehicle inspections and then hit OK. And do a little formatting, add it to the middle, make it prettier. Close out of that one, and then I'm going to relaunch and I should see the update on my page. Okay, now I have my vehicle inspections, and if I click it, it should take me to that page. So that's all using out of the box stuff. A really quick example of how you can kind of collect external data or surface external data. So for example, if you did have an authenticated user, let's say they have a number of inspections that they've already done. You could have that information display and show on a list and have it filtered just for them. So you can only lock down your data so they can only see their stuff and nobody else's. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of hop over and show you the portal management. So portal management is essentially basically the engine of everything that's happening. We're not going to get too deep in it today because it is a rabbit hole. But if there is enough interest, we could do a follow-up webinar because portal management is essentially where all of the advanced configuration can happen. Power Pages and portals have the ability to do custom HTML, custom JavaScript, all of that advanced stuff. So you could also do liquid templating, fetch XML. The sky's the limit. So for this one, You don't, one kind of weird nuance, if you're actually editing your portal, you want to go here and hit edit. However, when you're doing portal management, you just want to click this because you don't want to actually edit the model-driven app. You just want to use it. Okay, so here's the back end of everything. All of the specific code, you can see this is the active websites. If you do have users that are using local sign-in, you would see them here under contacts, and you have the ability to, send emails, reset passwords, set different web roles. So let's say you have a manager at a company, you want to have a different web role than an end user. You can do all of that customization over here. One of the things I'm going to show you is the basic form. So you can see I created the basic form in the front end, but you also have the ability to update and edit on the back end. So if this was your preferred kind of layout, you can do all the changes in here. So here's kind of the form we just created and all of the additional stuff that you can do on the back end. So that's just a quick overview into portal management. It is a lot. I mean, you could honestly spend a lot of time learning all of the nuances in here, but essentially it has all of your code. So for example, your footer, this is customizable. You can see it's like an HTML type. All of that code is housed on the back end here. So the last thing I'm going to show you real quick is we're going to go to setup, and then we're going to look at the admin center. So this is all underneath the Power Platform Admin Center. I'm going to go back over here and kind of show you real quick. But so here I'm going to go into the environment. So I created just a sandbox environment called Rachel's Demo. So we'll go in there, and over here you can see under resources, anything that's within this environment. This is where you can kind of add users, remove users, change ownership. But we're going to go into the Power Pages site and kind of show you some of the levers in there. So since it is just a trial, here's where you would convert it to production. If you spin up a Power Page trial, it has about 30 days, and then they're going to delete it. It will send you notifications like, hey, this is about to be deleted. Would you like to convert to production? But just kind of a side note on that, you can connect a custom domain. So for example, let's look in our site. You can see the domain right here has this powerappsportal.com. If you wanted to have it not even look like a Power Page and customize it, as much as you want, and it just looks like a normal website, you have the ability to update the domain on the back end. It's also integrated with Power BI and SharePoint. Just a side note on that, in order to do that, you have to be a global admin. So there is some kind of hoops you got to run or jump through, but that's actually a really nice if you want to have contractors or consultants or whomever have kind of access without having them in your Azure Active Directory. That's where you can kind of enable that integration. So here's, just kind of the quick back end. I'm going to flip back over to my presentation real quick. So I kind of wanted to make sure that everything was really demo focused, and kind of walk you through and kind of just show you how easy Design Studio is to kind of get something up and running and external facing very quickly. So this is what we just ran through. We created that table, we created a new page, created a new form, and then we added a button on the home page, and that all took about 15 minutes. So really quick, really easy to use. Portal management. So again, that's all your back end stuff, a lot of levers, that's kind of where your code is housed. So you do want to be really careful when working in there, but it is very powerful. So the admin center, again, that's where you can enable integrations. You can run through the site checker to make sure that you've done everything, convert to production, and then site actions. So actually, let me speak to that real quick. Site actions is if you want to restart your portal or you want to take it from public to private, let's say you're doing some work, you have the ability to do that there. Okay, so we'll open it up to questions if anybody has any.
Rachel, there was a question in the chat. It's does creating a Power Page app spin up its own Power Platform environment?
No, it'll be whatever environment that you're in. So, for example, I'm in here, this Rachel demo sandbox. If I go over to apps here, let's say I create a new app website, it'll spin up a second one in this environment. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
And part of the follow-up that we're going to do too is Michelle's going to send out an email and we're going to send you some instructions on how to do a trial. So if you're just kind of curious, I wouldn't recommend going and creating anything in your company's environment just yet, but there's trial environments that you could spin up really easily and kind of just start having a sandbox to play in.
Excellent.
We do have some clients that we've done substantial advanced configurations. So like custom HTML soup to nuts, and they want everything to look a specific way and buttons to do really fun, cool stuff. So that it does have a lot of really cool functionality, but this is kind of just the out of the box. And I think as you can see, you're able to kind of get something spun up really quickly.
And for the internal users, the primary use case is that you want to have more control over than you would have with a Canvas or a model-driven app.
Yeah, or you want more control over kind of the design aesthetic. So if you have like
Gotcha.
a marketing department that's like, we really like things to look a specific way, and you don't want it to look, you know, kind of like your traditional model driven. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay.
Oh, since this is all integrated, I'll read it out loud. Since this is all integrated into Power Platform, I assume there is a way to insert Power BI website reports. Yes. So it's actually really easy. Let me go down here and we'll add a section and I'll kind of show you. I don't have this in integration enabled, but all you would do is go here and you can publish your Power BI dashboard.
Is there any way to publish here without? Is there any way to publish here without consuming a Power BI Pro license, or would it automatically integrate into Power BI and require a Pro license?
That's a good question. If that was a concern, I think my recommendation would be, unless you wanted to have like filtered data, like let's say you have a particular user logged in and you want to have that data filtered for them. I'm not sure we can actually follow up and include that in the follow-up email. I think you would need a pro, but if it's not, my recommendation would be just to have the dashboard public and embed it.
Right. So one of the ways that you can put Power BI reports into a website is embed in a public website. Just did a iframe link and embed it. I was just wondering if that functionality was available here.
Yes. Actually, iframe is something I use in Power Pages and portals like really often because it's, you know, if you have other stuff that you kind of want to have on the website, it gives you that flexibility.
Sure. Okay.
Rachel, you were walking through that multi-step workflow. Is that the same thing as the business process in the model-driven app?
This one?
I'm on a one-screen world today, so I'm flipping back and forth. I think that was it. I recall you talking about, and I didn't take a screenshot of it, but that when you were creating the form, you were able to kind of step through the creation of it. And I don't.
So they're actually, it's all kind of layered on like the Dataverse form. So it's got to the same, it's, you know, if you're familiar with model-driven apps, it's the same. The only limitation that I've seen is that Power Pages does not account for all component types. So if you have like a custom PCF control that you want to put in here, there are some limitations in Power Pages around that, but you can get around that with the custom JavaScript and the HTML.
Okay. And if you have an internal use case, I'm going back to the advantage of using this over a model-driven app would be more control over the branding. Yep. Okay.
And,
Good.
if you have external users that you don't, because if you're working with a
Right.
model-driven app, you have the licensing implications.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So you mentioned y'all have done some sophisticated sites for clients. Have y'all done any fairly sophisticated public facing websites, internet type websites?
Yes. So we have one client, and so their website it's actually they have an external website and it's linked on their external website. So if the process we created for them is a quoting process. So if you click on their external website and say, hey, get a quote, it'll push them over to the Power page. The end user has no idea that they're really kind of in like a different website. But there they can go and log in or anonymously submit quote requests.
How easy was it for you to get that look and feel to be really closely matching their existing website? Because it's not always just CSS. There's like so much more to it, I think, for people to have an eye for that kind of thing.
Yeah, and admittedly, that's not my strength. We have a lot of people who are really good at it, and they,
Mine neither.
it was definitely a team effort, but we were able to kind of take what they had and modify since they already had a lot of the HTML and
Yeah.
CSS. So it wasn't too bad, but they wanted to have custom list displays that were really pretty and expand
Mhm.
and collapse, and so that
Right.
did take a lot of custom
But
code.
so what did you end up doing for those? Did you create like custom JavaScript? Did you create PCF components? What did you do for that? Was it just CSS stuff?
So Power Pages and Portals use something called Liquid language. So if you've ever seen like a Shopify website,
Mm-hmm.
Shopify invented Liquid. And so we're able to use Liquid tags to pull
Nice.
from the tables and kind of customize the look and feel that way.
Very nice. That's great. Glad to hear that.
And they did just it was in a preview and they just put it into general for the web API. So they kind of opened up the possibilities and the previous limitations that Power Pages had.
Mhm.
So if with the web API, you can pretty much do anything you want.
Nice. And it doesn't feel like you're hacking it like you did, SharePoint prior to SharePoint Online.
Exactly.
Modern Pages. Okay, good.
Anyone else? Any questions? All are welcome. Don't be shy.
Is the licensing any different with Power Pages now? Masters or PhD required?
I knew that question was coming up. So they are changing it from when it was Portals. So real quick, all kind of licensing. So they have two different kind of buckets now. You can do a subscription or a pay as you go. So if your kind of focus is doing, and they do have volume tier pricing, which I don't have on here. So if you're kind of expecting to have a really high volume, they do have some kind of discounted tiers based on that. But generally for authenticated users, $200 a month for 100 user site per month. For anonymous users, $75 for 500 users site per month.
Gotcha.
Which if you kind of look at, if, for example, if you had a SharePoint or like a Canvas app that you wanted to have contractors or external folks be able to use, the licensing for this is, marginal compared to what that looked like.
Right. Excellent.
Yeah.
That's always the challenge part of this.
Yeah.
The SaaS model.
And kind of just an example. So one of our clients that, we created the quote request for, they had a form and they wanted to have anonymous users as well as authenticated users. So we were able to put that logic in there as well. So if you're unauthenticated, then you get X form and we're going to collect your name, email, that information. But if you were already logged in, it would drive you to a different form because we have that information and we don't need to collect it on the form.
But you had to end up creating 2 separate farms. There was no reusability between them for authenticated versus non-authenticated users.
We actually used an advanced form, so that step through one.
Yeah.
So we were able to have, if you're already logged in, you just skip step 1.
Nice. Okay. Very good. Very
Mhm.
good. And the migration from trial to production, is it a no-brainer that an admin does, or does it require some tweaking?
No, you just literally, it's very easy. You go into the that admin center, and then it's this convert to production.
Nice. And is there any licenses that have to be applied when it's migrated, or is that something that's more of an honor system that you go do afterwards?
From what I've seen and where it is now, and as you know, Microsoft changes every day.
Yep.
It's an honor system for now. So at
Right.
some point you will get like a, hey,
Yep. Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
And kind of just speaking to some of the other stuff too. So we had a client and they created a Power Virtual Agent chatbot. And so we were able to use and surface that chatbot on their external facing website, in addition to having it on the Power page.
Nice. On their regular site, not even the Power Pages, but the actual website, you use the same chatbot for all of it.
Yep. So
Very
you can have
nice.
both.
Very nice.
So again, this is like out of the box, high level, quick. So if there is interest, we could do a follow-up webinar and kind of dig into some nitty-gritty if folks are interested in that kind of advanced customization stuff.
Yeah, this was perfect for me just to understand the use cases that fit here and how hard it was to get it rolling and set up. This is good.
Yeah. And I'll kind of show you this real quick too. So I was in the actual page. So if I went back to home, you can see if you had multiple Power Pages, you would kind of see them listed under here. But they do have some templates. If you have a particular use case, this is definitely worth checking out. So like you can see this one's building permit application, schedule meetings with a financial institution. So this is kind of like a booking functionality and use case. And the other thing too that I've seen is that they are actively asking for business use cases. And like if you have a template that could be used and leveraged for across Microsoft kind of customers, they are open to submission. So if you wanted to submit an idea for a template, they could work on it. No promises, but. And then also they have this, I don't know if folks are familiar with MS Learn, but right under here on Power Pages, they have kind of all of the tutorials and walkthroughs and, documentation to kind of help with that learning curve.
Did they have that when you were starting to put this together for your customer?
We started with a portal, so no.
Gotcha. Right. Okay. Very good.
Yeah, so it was definitely a really big learning curve because there's so many levers to pull, especially when, in this portal management, it's all kind of layered and all of this stuff translates back over to Dataverse tables where it's housed.
Right.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Okay. So if there's no more questions, I think our kind of what we're going to offer up for our call to action is we're going to send over kind of some steps on how to create the trial so that you guys can start, create a sandbox for yourself and start seeing what some of the capabilities are. And the nice thing about a trial is in having that sandbox is you can't break anything. So
I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty good at breaking things.
All right, Rachel, thank you very much. And thank you all for attending.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel, very much. It was very good.
Yeah, no problem. And if you guys have any questions or if you think of something later, feel free to shoot them over and we're happy to help and kind of work through anything with you guys.